Say I was living my life very much on like autopilot. Like, I'm not going to let this kill me. Because I remember coming out with the psychologist, their last session, like, shit, I'd love to be able to do that. I'd love to be able to help people like me, kind of, me come into them. That was my why. You're going through this now because you're going to have to help someone else through it. That drove me every single day. That gave me such purpose and meaning and power to get past what I was going through.
You were essentially the first ever client. 8 photo shoots, physique competition, 2 full marathons. You've overcome anxiety and depression. You've done a 4-year degree in psychotherapy, talked on stage multiple times, and you've done over 200 sessions of in-person mindset coaching for MC Future.
This is the Future Fitness Lifestyle, the podcast for high achievers who want to take control of their long-term physical and mental well-being. I'm Matt Cooney, and every week we break down the habits, mindset, and strategies to build lasting health, energy, and strength, without sacrificing your career, family, or lifestyle. No quick fixes, no fads, just real sustainable results. Because the choices you make today determine the future you step into. Ready to level up? Let's dive in.
Tommy O'Connell, welcome to the Future Fitness Podcast. You are in the hot seat today.
Matt, thank you for having me on. It does feel like quite a hot seat. First time I've ever done an in-person interview. So I'm definitely feeling the heat.
Saying that's why you just did ask, is it hot in here before we started? So I'm not going to ask how are you feeling, but yeah, how do you feel? It is weird when you're actually not on Zoom or in a...
Yeah, definitely. But I think from all the Zoom podcasts that we've done and from listening to the people who listen to me, they'll always know that I'd much prefer to be in person dealing with either doing a podcast, obviously it's the first one, but also doing like therapy or mindset sessions. It's much better to be physically with someone in person. So definitely excited to do the first one and see where it goes. There's definitely some nerves there too. It's the first time ever doing this. I'll go with that flow.
Yeah, and today is going to be a bit different because usually we're talking about topics and different things. Today is going to be all about you. And that's kind of my first question. So if somebody clicks on, obviously we know who you are, but if somebody clicks onto this podcast for the first time, they've never seen me or you, we're not related, by the way, and never seen us, who are you and what do you do?
Who am I and what do I do? Just as a quick side note too, it was interesting when you first said, you know, I'm going to be talking about me. Obviously, I talk to people the whole time about them, never usually about me. So definitely this is on the other foot right now. So who am I? How long do we have? Who am I? I suppose my journey to where I am getting to sit in this seat right now. Obviously, like I said, that's a lifelong story, but to cut it quite short. I am a mindset coach with MCFF Fitness. I just finishing up my 4th year of counseling and psychotherapy. Thank God, it feels very, very good to say that. It's been a very long 4 years. I live in Cork with my partner Joe, work in finance, my 9 to 5 job, and I'm very much a person who is driven to learn more, to grow more. I really enjoy challenging myself, whether that's physically, emotionally, psychologically.
Hence you did a marathon last week.
Thanks for plugging that.
Yeah. Second one,
yeah. But yeah, no, definitely my life took a real change a couple of years ago, which is what I'm sure we'll get into. Took a different path with that, something I never thought that I would be here right now doing the things that I'm doing. But that's the beauty of life, is that our life can always change in a moment, and there's a lot of inspiration to take from having a mentality and an attitude towards life that your life can always change in any moment.
and what I think some listeners might not realize is you were essentially the first ever client of mine, which how many years ago was that now? The Future Fitness wasn't a thing. It was a dream, imagination. I think 16, 17 maybe was that the age. So that's like what, 18 years ago?
Yeah, so I'm 33 now, going on 34 next month. I think 17. I'm going to say 17 because I would have been out of school at the time. But yeah, I think it was
15
17.
years, 15 years ago.
15 years. Wow, long time. A lot of change within those 15 years, but still very much fresh in the memory of you doing me up programs and handing me a piece of paper. This is the program. to work out with, and then obviously it developed from the training to the nutrition to obviously the mindset now.
Started with a piece of paper, then it went to a Microsoft Word document, and then it was an email, and then I think we got WhatsApp.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you've claimed a few times that you're responsible for MC Future Fitness. Is that right?
I believe I firmly hold the responsibility there with that because of the transformation that I undertook, obviously at the hands of you. Yeah, in 2015, I was going away to America on my J1, and I wanted to be shredded with a six-pack going to America. And myself and my cousin Piers, who sent me a message one day. I was in college, the final year of college, and you were like, I think it was like 9 weeks out, and it was the 8 weeks we started. You sent me a message basically saying, "Hey, do you want me to handle your nutrition for the next 8 weeks to get you into the shape that you want going away to America?" And I was like, "Yes, absolutely." I think it was like 3 days before we flew out to America. I put up a post on Facebook of me shredded in my underwear.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history, yes.
And that's, I was working on a building site in Perth, in Australia at that time. So I would come home in my builder's boots and yellow jacket or orange jacket, one of those builder tops. I'd hop on the laptop, this old clankety laptop, and send you over, I think it was a Word document or something like that at the time. And it's funny, looking back now, I remember you were like, "What do you want me to do?" And I was like, I don't know. Leave it with me. I was like, "Okay, send me pictures, send me an email each week. Give me your pictures, give me your body weight and that." Because I knew how to do it, but I didn't know how to communicate. I'd never done that. And there was no blueprint for online coaching. I still remember you put the post up. I think Pierce did a post as well. I was in Thailand somewhere and there was really bad Wi-Fi. And then I got Wi-Fi and I was like, "I think my phone is broke." The phone just started going absolute, like there was about, I think your thing between you and Pierce, I think this is back in the day as well, 2015.
Yeah.
I think there was like 600 or 700 likes on these two photos, and people just started sending me messages, and I was like, "What is going on here?" And that's actually, how it all started. I moved back to Ireland a week, 2 weeks after that, and then here we are today. There's another funny, well, depends on the definition of funny, is you actually turned down a job with MC Future Fitness.
They say in life you don't get a second chance, but for me and you, a second chance presented itself. But the first opportunity was in 2017. We were in a bar in Thailand, in Bangkok.
Not the best way to ask people to put a job.
Maybe if you asked me at the end of the trip. But it was at the beginning of the trip in Koh San.
I thought if I got enough drink in you, that you'd say yes.
I
didn't remember it was in Thailand.
Yeah, it was. It was in Koh San Road in a bar, and I remember you just saying to me, "Do you want to come and work for me?" And literally, you only just said this. Literally, this one line to me is like, "I will teach you what you need to do." I think obviously at the time, I would have, just before we go into it, like my mindset at the time, I would have been filled like with fear about taking on that role, particularly at a time in life where we obviously grew up in a period of time where educate, get a secure job, and you would be safe in life. Whereas you went against the narrative and you were doing your own thing, your entrepreneurial thing. And obviously my choice at that time was very much filled from a place of fear, and that's hence why I turned you down. But obviously, thankfully, and it was one of those things that it did work out.
Yeah.
And the universe brought us back together, and it never took us apart because we still work together, but now we work in a professional capacity too.
Yeah. Because that's why I asked you to come on as a coach, like a training nutrition. And then you ended up coming back on. When did you start with us? 2020.
When did I go to Marbella in 2022?
22.
Yes, so it'll be 3 years this summer, 3 years in August.
And it's funny how things like that, it's like purpose, or was it meant to happen that way, you know? And that's where obviously we're going to get into your kind of story as well, how you got into mindset coaching. But before the podcast, I was kind of listing some things, and I thought this is really, really cool to see. Since, I don't know when you'd say it, since you're part of MC Future Fitness, which is since the beginning, you've done 8 photo shoots, a men's physique competition, 2 full marathons. You've overcome anxiety and depression. You've done a 4-year degree in psychotherapy. You've done 3 talks on stage. Maybe that's wrong, but you've talked on stage multiple times, and you've done over 200 sessions of in-person mindset coaching for MC Future Fit.
Oh.
How does that make you feel?
That makes me feel very proud hearing that and listening to that. And obviously, something that we try to do is we try to deflect positive feedback from ourselves. And
It's called being Irish.
yeah, it is. Yeah, it's pretty good. We are. There's one thing we're good at, it's that. There's definitely a part of me in my mind is like when hearing you say that, it almost wants to like to say, "Oh yeah, thanks." On to the next question, you know. But I believe, obviously, I feel that when you do something, you do challenges or you overcome obstacles in life, it's something that any person in the world should be proud of and could be proud of and can be proud of. Definitely hearing that, if you were to say to me in that bar back in Thailand that over the next 15 years, these are some of the things that you would achieve and become, obviously at the time, for a lot of us, we'd always say, you're crazy. But right now, if someone said to me if you were sitting here right now going, Tommy, over the next 15 years, this is what you'll do, then I would believe you. That's because of the change that I have gone through and just the shift in perspective of life that I do have right now. Yeah, definitely all the things that you've mentioned there's multiple different aspects of life that were involved in that, physically, emotionally, psychologically. It's funny, I always said anxiety and depression, yeah, both were things that almost killed me, but they were also 2 things that always like gave me the most out of life. But I remember when I completed the first marathon, hands down, it straight away, I was like, that was the hardest thing I've ever been through in my entire life, just because of the physicality of what it did to me, and obviously psychologically how broken I was in that race. But obviously, upon reflection and giving myself time after the come down of what I went through, obviously over such a large period of time experiencing anxiety, depression, it would still be something that really affected me the most.
They say that though, don't they? A lot of times your biggest struggles can become your kind of greatest gifts. And that's what, I suppose, leading to the next topic, which is kind of, obviously you've been open with your struggles with anxiety and depression and overcoming that. What was kind of like the turning point for you that kind of made you want to seek help, or even maybe a bit of a background into that whole situation?
Yeah, so I'd say for a lot of us, particularly in like our 20s and that, and unfortunately I'd probably say a lot of people younger today probably go through it too, but I would say I was living my life very much on like autopilot. So I wasn't aware of belief systems, values, mindset, feelings, thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and let's say the responsibility of trying to understand them. And the way that I was living my life was very much, I don't want to use the term asleep, but just definitely not, I'll use the words I was worried about. Just wasn't aware of.
Unaware.
Yeah, unaware of. I suppose life was very much just happening for me, whereas I probably wasn't the one taking control of that. Not for all of my life, but definitely for some of it. And when I think back to depression, I think back to that time, obviously, I experienced depression back when I was like 29 and probably in around 32. I would say I experienced depression at a time in my life too when I was younger, when I kind of like left college and I was kind of in a cycle of working in a factory. I just didn't know what depression was at the time. So I would say I experienced it back then too. And anxiety, I still to this day experience anxiety. I think every human being does experience anxiety. It's just, are you experiencing anxiety at a 1 or you experience anxiety at a 10? That time in my life, I was trying to hide it. Not the depression, because I wasn't depressed at the time. I was definitely experiencing a lot of intrusive thoughts. And again, I said they were kind of like a 2 to a 3 to a 4. And then
Did hiding it make it worse?
Oh, way worse. Yeah, way worse. Because I won't get into intrusive thoughts and that, but people will understand and know. Some people will, some people won't. They're quite dark and they're quite heavy. And particularly at a time where I suppose mental health wasn't the most talked about thing in the world. I think it was starting to come out a bit. Obviously, it's greater right now, but it's very hard to, if you don't understand something, it's very hard to express it to someone else. And I didn't understand what was going on with me. I just tried to push it away. Yeah, suppress it. I just tried to, I'll be fine. This is okay. I'll go away. And it didn't. And it's like volume in the background. Just kind of, it's always there. It comes out at times and you can't control it. How I reacted to it was obviously the wrong way. But when I say the wrong way, I just didn't know how to to deal with it. And then I went through a breakup at the time, and that was, I suppose, a big catalyst for me too. That was a moment in my life where I really felt the effects of being alone. And I think I experienced loneliness for a couple of years beforehand, not all the time. Just I was kind of at a stage in my life where I wanted to be with someone. And then I did find someone. But then we separated, and this was during basically the beginning of COVID too. And it was, yeah, again, I'd never experienced that level of pain, that level of separation.
Did you say like that volume then just went from like low level, like it was kind of there beforehand, and then when that happened, it just triggered it to be like up to level A?
Yeah, it was interesting for me because I would say the intrusive thoughts were there, but then when I went through the separation, it was the depression that took over. And I didn't really have the intrusive thoughts that I was experiencing. It was more so
Low.
Yeah, just really low mood, very lonely, very lost, very detached from society. And even though most of the world was at that time anyway, but I just felt it even more so. And just experienced just a real heaviness, a real struggle, just a real darkness, cloud, and you hear it lots of times.
That lasted for a while as well, did it? This was over
Yeah,
a period of months, like, wasn't it?
it was over a period of months. And obviously it got to a very dark point where, for me, I experienced thoughts of ending my life. Obviously, there's a massive difference between having thoughts of ending your life and planning to end your life.
Yeah.
There's a huge difference. Because what I understand from it, and my belief, is that people never want to die. They just want an end to their pain. Unfortunately, suicide is a solution to that. But a lot of people don't understand that when they experience suicide, they just believe that it's just a solution to their pain, because every single problem that us human beings have, we're trying to find a solution.
And move away from pain.
Exactly. And unfortunately, that is a solution. People don't find the help, obviously, that they need to find a different solution. And thankfully for me, with that was...
It's probably where alcohol, drugs, food come in.
Yeah, substance
There are
abuse.
different solutions to just take away the pain for some. Numb it, essentially, yeah.
All maladaptive coping mechanisms that us human beings are amazing at developing. But for me, when I remember I first had that kind of like thought of doing that, it actually scared me. That really, really scared me. So I knew then I kind of needed a lot of help. And I had a lot of help around me anyway.
Was that kind of the, like, okay, this is now when I'm going to get help, or even, like you said, you were kind of suppressing it or hiding it?
Yes, it was. And obviously it was COVID, it was just started, so everything was online. And so I remember I reached out to a counsellor. I had like this EPA system thing, I think it's called EPA. Basically with work, you get free counselling sessions. And so I was like, great, I'll just use these. And so I did that, I had it weekly. Looking back on it, it definitely helped me. It definitely moved me from like feeling like a 1% to a 10%. It didn't move me from 1% to like 100% saying I'm cured. But it was a catalyst. That really did help me.
Started you the other direction, like.
It did. Because it was just another individual I got to talk to share what was happening for me. By offloading that, how you're feeling, what you're thinking about, getting feedback about that, getting help, giving you tools, all this helps you move from that 1% to whatever you need to get. And then I started to feel better in myself. But then my anxiety came back. So my intrusive thoughts came back. And they went from like a 4. They just jumped straight to like a 10. And I remember it was after alcohol, which usually obviously is the case when it's going to affect you more and when you're in that low state. But that then, to me, was the scary time, really, really scary time. Because what I was experiencing, the thoughts that I was having, I very much felt like I couldn't tell anyone. I couldn't share this because it was really, really dark. And again, I'm not really going to get into that, but that was at a time then where I really started to develop panic attacks and anxiety attacks because
you felt like you couldn't control it. Like
exactly.
You had it was controlling you.
Basically, it's like an alarm system called the amygdala in your brain, and it's just being set off. And I remember the first podcast that we did, you were like, it's essentially like there's a bear running at you. Your mind doesn't know the difference. And that's literally it. That's exact, because I was fearing my thoughts. So my thoughts were causing me
more a vicious cycle.
Vicious cycle. And that's when then I went to see a psychologist, and he was really good. He was more of a logical type person. He was good to just kind of talk about tools and that. But then it was something that massively helped me with the people around me. I had really, really great people around me. the likes of yourself, the likes of Pierce, the likes of my family, the likes of Aaron, my brother. The likes of Aaron and my brother were amazing in terms of like holistic approaches, things that can really help you. And that's when I was came across like Wim Hof and like cold water therapy and all that, teaching me to deal with stress.
So essentially you kind of, in a way, got to a point where obviously that speaking to people started to help you, but then would you say you kind of started to take control yourself and look into like, obviously people probably give you a nudge to be like, you should try this breathing or whatever, but you were kind of like, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to take control of myself to get myself better. Would that make sense? Is that the way?
That was a huge drive for me. You know me. I'm very
driven.
Yes, I am. And I remember some people around me with good intentions, because that's all they knew, were like, to take antidepressants. And I was completely against that. I knew nothing really about antidepressants. There was always something inside me that was just like, stay away from tablets. Don't ever go near them. And as you said, I was driven. I was like, I'm not going to let this kill me. I'm not going to let this defeat me. And it was the people around me that obviously introduced me to different aspects of different areas that can help me. But I very much looked into them. And once I did them, I felt the benefits of them. I saw the change within me. And my biggest driving point, I know something you'll probably ask me why I do it now, is because I remember coming out of the psychologist, their last session. And again, he didn't move me from like a 1% to 100%, but he helped me. And I remember coming out of there being like, shit, I'd love to be able to do that. I'd love to be able to help people like me coming into them. I had no idea that the route I was going to take, but I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll just start to try to learn a bit more about this. Again, that was like 2 or 3 months after like the introductory course, were like a 10. And I remember that was my why. That was my why to changing, was like, you're going through this now because you're going to have to help someone else through it. That drove me every single day. That gave me such purpose and meaning and power to get past what I was going through. Still to this day, it's something that I hold very dear to me. Is I talk to people and I talk to individuals who come into me and talk to me. And because I experience the lows of the lows and the depths of the depths, I get to relate to people. One of the people who might be going through certain practices right now, things like this right now, I find it very hard for me to say this, but one of the positives of me going through something like that is that, well, then you get to relate to people, because you can never truly understand something unless you've been through it. You can't fully understand it unless you've experienced that. Hence, why the coaching that you do, the mentors that you go to, you want to learn from them so that you can be able to teach other people.
I think my friend Joe Parrish said that. It's like, some things need to be experienced to be understood.
Yes.
I always think of even like things like competing in bodybuilding and stuff. Like, you could read all the books in the world. Same with mindset. It's the same with a lot of things. Nothing will ever beat experience. You need to experience it for it to be truly understood. So that's where I think for you, and like when you say lowest of the lows, I remember I didn't really see you during that time because I don't know why COVID. I think it was really badly, and then I came back and then we went to the gym sometime. I'd say this was not when you were actually at your lowest.
No, it was in November. I remember.
I'd say you were significantly better than you were, and I just remember you didn't even have to say anything to me. I was like, I wasn't really into like spiritual stuff or anything like that, but like your energy was like, it was like I could feel pain off you. Like if you got close enough to you, it was like obviously you were trying not to be like down, but it was just like you could tell the pain. It was weird for me. It was like, that's an experience, that some people, you just get these energies or vibes they call it. I was like, he is struggling,
yeah,
it was a weird experience, but like you said, it's those types of things are the things that you now have to share. And I think that's I think so many people, it's one of the best ways to use the challenges and trials, tribulations you all go through, is like, if you can take that and use it as a positive, essentially, because there's always opportunity in it. And even for you, you wouldn't be here doing the things you do today if you never experienced that. Highly unlikely that you would have just woke up one day and said, think I'll be a psychotherapist, you know?
Yeah.
So it's very good, I think, looking back now, but obviously when you're in it at the time, it's not the best situation, you know? Was there, you said that there's like tools and tips and things. What were the main things you did to help you? Because obviously you had support from other people, but what were the main strategies or tools or even mindset shifts that you used yourself that think you had the biggest impact on you getting them?
Yeah. First and foremost, talking.
Mm.
Human beings, we're not meant to hide what's going on inside us. We're meant to communicate. We're meant to express, whether that's verbally, non-verbally. You need to be able to talk about what is going on for you. And when you can speak to someone and you can share to them and you can be vulnerable and you can talk to them about your insecurities, your fears, your doubts, your worries in life, and that other person is sitting there and just simply listening to you with no judgment, bond that creates the trust, supported that individual can feel within that. Can't express how immensely powerful that is for someone to just simply share to you, hey, I was experiencing some thoughts of suicide. That other individual is able to hold that. That other individual is not afraid of what you just said, and they don't respond with any judgment. The pressure that is taken off you is immense.
It must feel like a weight lifted off you.
It is. It's huge. But unfortunately, there is a huge barrier, because I experienced it myself, is that people are afraid to do that because they're afraid to be feared, or they're afraid that they'll be judged. They're afraid that people will think maybe badly of them. They're afraid that they, of course, might be rejected.
Sorry for them as well, or something like that.
Yes, there's many reasons behind that. What I always say is like, what would you rather experience? Would you rather experience all the pain that you're going through, or would you rather take a chance and talk to someone that might be able to get you from that 1% to 2% to 3%? So talking to someone definitely helped, but for me, it was the people around me. Always go back to, we would not survive in this world without people. You can't function without good people in your life. We always say it, your environment dictates your performance. And if you have good people around you, they're going to elevate you. And I had amazing people around me. I was truly lucky for the people that I had around me. I had so many different individuals that I could talk to, speak to, my family. And I had people who had gone ahead of me on their path of whatever, spirituality, had understood depression, things like that. Again, I learned from them. And I think social media was obviously a big thing a couple of years ago, but just definitely following the right people, hearing the right stories and that was really, really big. But in terms of tools and that I use myself, cold water therapy, still to this day. When we were going for coffee this morning, I was like, I went for a cold shower first and rather than going for a coffee.
You told me the shower's not cold enough. I think it is cold. And we have an ice bath over there with a chiller, so
we'll see how cold that is. But no, cold water therapy was one of the biggest things for me that helped me understand my tolerance to stress and to dealing with panic. As we all know, when you get into cold water, it's chaos. Your mind is literally trying to do everything possible for you to try to turn it hot or get the hell out of there. That's life. That's the chaos of life. You feel like so much under pressure that you can't deal with. Hence why you develop these unhealthy coping mechanisms. And breath work was massive, meditation, journaling. I remember you were the first person to say to me, take out a piece of paper and a journaling and start writing down just whatever. And I did that. And I think it was when I moved into the cabin, I found that old journal and like real dark things, you know, that I had written down. But that also makes me so proud now today to read those things of where I am. Things like that, just people, the right people around you, going to find support, whether it be with a counsellor, therapist, whatever it is, cold water therapy, meditation, breath work, journaling. And you also need to have commitment to yourself that you want to get out of this.
When you said all those, it's like, not that they're irrelevant, but like, obviously, yes, they're helpful, but I think you said about taking control and nearly in a way of believing you can, like, you basically told us that I'm going to overcome this, you know, and it's like, they were the tools to help you, but like, unless you probably had that core belief of like, I can't control this, to, okay, doesn't matter what I have to do, I'm going to overcome this, you know. That's like, you take that into anything. Do you know, like a marathon, you're like, I'm finishing this marathon. That's not the first time. It was, you very nearly didn't. But again, it's like the commitment to yourself to essentially whatever it is you're going to do is like, I'm going to do this, whatever it takes, you know. I think that's powerful. And I think you said about resilience to stress, to give people an idea of how like you can change very quickly, I think is like from your lowest point, like 18 months later, you did a men's physique bodybuilding show, which is like, I would say up there with the hardest mental challenge you could ever do is getting yourself to that level of leanness is actually pretty much, the physical is the look, but the mental is one of the most mentally challenging things you'd ever experience. Would you agree?
100%. Because with a marathon, you can just do the training, do the run, do the nutrition, recovery, all that. You don't have to do it either too, but you're in for a lot of pain. A physique competition is literally from the moment you wake up to the moment you fall asleep, and even when you sleep, everything is directed towards this one goal. Again, that's also a choice. You want to turn up on stage and you don't want to be in the best possible shape that you can be and look back and have so many regrets, you can do that too. That's not something I want to do. Every decision you make on a daily basis is built towards that one goal. The more depleted you get, the less energy that you have. Obviously, the less energy you have, our brains simply want to do one thing, and that's survive. Anything that is going to help you survive, it's always going to try and do that. And like even things like trying to train, posing. I wouldn't even say training was the hardest thing. It was posing for me was tough. But yeah, like you said, just so psychologically challenging, but also so rewarding too. To look back and to discipline.
Yeah.
To be disciplined.
And to see that you could go from basically the lowest of the low, like mentally, to the most disciplined and most resilient person. Both the same mind, both the same body, just 18 months apart. It just shows like humans are actually capable of, you know. So yeah, it's pretty amazing actually when you think back to it. And how, with your own mindset coaching then, obviously you kind of touched on it, that kind of turned into your purpose and mission, is something I want. A lot of people, I would have been like this as well. I would say mindset is probably misunderstood, and they might even go like, I don't need mindset coaching. What would you say to the kind of the person that has that thought process or thinks, I don't need mindset coaching?
I'd say book in a session with me.
Here's the link.
Yeah, I would directly say that to them. I think individuals who believe that, first of all, like what is mindset? If we were to look at mindset and look at mindset coaching, what is it? Mindset is simply just trying to understand your own belief systems and how they're integrated in your life and the effects that they have on your daily basis. The relationships you're in, the job that you're in, the physical, like whether that's going to the gym or you're in a sports team, your mindset, your belief systems are literally at the core of it. And everything else that comes from that are coming from those belief systems. And with mindset coaching, you're simply just trying to understand them. Because we all have them and we all have limiting beliefs. Again, to what degree it's going to be at a 1 or a 10 and how they're impacting our daily lives. But essentially, they create the way that our thoughts work and how our emotions interplay in life. For people who say that to me, I would say there's probably possibly a fear there around not wanting to learn more about themselves and to understand themselves because they don't want to change. Mostly at an unconscious level, people just don't have the desire to change, and usually it does take some form of crisis before someone will change. But people who do the mindset work, they're essentially being released from the chains of life. You have more freedom within your life. You have more awareness of why you think the way you do, you feel the way you do, and you act the way you do. We all have these behaviors that maybe aren't the healthiest or aren't driven from the best places. That all stems back from your mindset. If you want to find meaning and find purpose in your life, it starts with you. You're not going to find that from some external source. That's going to come from the internal work that you're going to do on yourself. That's scary, so it is, because people don't want to have a mirror put up in front of them, because to hear this is why you're behaving in the way you are is because of maybe some traumatic experience that you had when you were younger. That's painful. That brings up a lot of uneasy feelings. And the way we're designed is to move far away from anything that is going to, again, like you said, move away from pain towards pleasure.
I think it's the same thing, isn't it? It's like safety, comfort.
Yes.
All those, that's where, in a way. But like you said, I think a lot of people are unconscious with it. So it's like, even with mindset, I would have been before. It's like, you nearly think that you have to be struggling with your mindset to work on it. But then I was even thinking this during the week. I'm like, you don't have to be unfit to want to get fitter. You don't have to be weak to get stronger. But then when it comes to mindset, it's like we feel like, oh, I have to be in the dumps like before I do something. You know, whereas actually all of us now, no matter where you are, it's like you could always improve that, you know. And it's like you wouldn't just get to a level of fitness and say, I never want to get fitter than this, or I never want to get stronger, or I never want to have a better relationship than this. Just here, you know. But it's weird with mindset. It's kind of like, I don't know. Is that just a belief, societal thing that in general you have, you know?
Yeah, like we all are governed by rules. You know, we all follow rules, and whether they're external or they're our own internal rules. I believe if someone comes to me and is like that, they have a fixed mindset. My first question to them is that I don't want to change you. I'm asking you, do you want to change? And if you're telling me you don't want to change, okay, well then we don't need to work together. If you're feeling a certain way and I ask you, okay, do you want to be able to let go of that feeling and to feel something different? And someone says to me, yes, okay, let's work together. I'm not going to force that individual to be like, you need to live by the same principles and belief systems that I have. That's not how I operate and function. I believe a certain way. I know that you're aligned with me in the way that we believe what life is about and what we can do. That's not to say that every individual has to agree with us. That's not how life works. If a person doesn't want to change, I can't force them to change. I'm only facilitating a space for them to change. They have to want to change themselves. I can't say to them, you need to change.
Yeah.
That's never going to work.
You're bringing them to the door, opening the door, but they have to walk through it.
They have to walk through it. And a lot of people will have resistance to that. But again, if you facilitate a safe space and you pose the question that offers them the opportunity to have a new feeling, this feels good to me. Okay, well then I want to actually take a path to try and choose to create more of those good feelings. Or I want to say the same. If you want to say the same, it's that individual's person's choice. But for me, if you want to build the future that you want, we're constantly being shown these days right now that you can have all these things, you can do all these things, but then you're not taking any action on it. Well, then there's something there that you do need to change.
There's a reason why you're not.
Yes. And I'm sure we get into that. But to build the future that you want, you need to understand your present by learning from your past.
And last question that I want to ask you is, if you could give people listening now 1 to 3, we'll say max 3 tips, mindset tips that have transformed your own life, what would it be? So these could be habits, changes, could be like mantras, affirmations, whatever it is. What would they be?
One habit that I would say to any individual that has changed my life massively is books. The amount of knowledge that is out there in the world today is incredible. You literally can spend 100 years of your life trying to learn and you still would probably only know about this much. There's so much information out there right now, and something that has massively helped me on my own journey is books, and I love it. I'm reading a book right now about attachment systems and how they work in relationships. I'm 33 years old and I'm learning new things about me that I thought I knew a good bit about attachment. I'm reading one book and it's blowing my whole world open, and it's creating so much more understanding for me because of just one book.
You're essentially getting other people's life's work in condensed.
Yeah.
And a lot of those, again, have been 30 years, 40, they're usually the older people that have so much wisdom, knowledge, experience in this one thing. Gotta read. That's why I now read.
Yeah, exactly. That's literally it. Like, you're taking people's experience, what they've done in life. Again, every book you pick up, you're not going to agree with. There's certain aspects of books that I'm like, I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
That's fine. Again, you're allowed to disagree and agree with people's principles. That's okay. That's the beauty of life. But definitely one habit that will just change your life, because you read something, you hear something, someone says something to you, you're like, that relates to me. Okay, I can make sense of that. I can learn from that. How do I implement that in my life? So definitely that's one massive habit. I think, I always say I think, I'm trying to change that. I believe that you need an open mind. You have to have an open mind in life. Someone says something to you, you can't just shut it down straight away. Just because, again, of how you react to it, just because someone says something to you, it creates a feeling within you. You don't have to act on that feeling. You don't have to act on that thought. You don't have to act on that behavior. Have an open mind to what someone is saying to you. Trying to have a perspective of seeing life through this open lens. And again, then you have the choice afterwards. Once you maybe reflect back and it's like, that makes sense to me. That doesn't make sense to me. Don't shut yourself off to what other people might say to you or what you might hear or what you might read. Because if you do that, then that's where you develop that fixed mindset where you believe that you can change. Lastly, I would say that every single person on planet Earth has the ability to change your life. I love that. No matter what circumstance you find yourself in. If you find yourself in the most shitty circumstances right now, you're in a country that is war-torn or is in a country that, in a third world country that, let's say, is economically poor. I bet you and guarantee you found individuals that have came from there and have gone from nothing to having everything. That's the power of human beings. Every single person has the ability to change. The journey to getting there, you got to put in hard work. You can't get away from that. I remind myself of that when I'm not doing the work. Is that, okay, Tommy, you need to start putting in more work there. If you do that, you'll get the end result. You'll get the outcome. No doubt about it. Firmly believe that. So this last thing is with that, and always what I say, because sometimes I speak to clients who are in a place where I was, is always have hope. If you have hope, you have more than enough to get you out of that place.
So read books, be open-minded, and know that you can change your life.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I think a really good way to end.
Lovely.
Thank you for joining us today. Where can people find you if they want to know more? In an ice bath somewhere.
Yeah. Tomorrow, yeah. Nope, you can find me on Instagram. I think it's Tommy_OC91. So they can find me there at that. Or they can find me through your page too.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll see me pop up on your feed now and then, so they will.
Perfect. Tommy, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
And I think you did very well for your first in-person interview. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, we will see you all in the next episode.
Perfect. Thank you.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Future Fitness Lifestyle. If you found value in today's conversation, do me a favor, leave a review, share it with a friend, or tag me on social media. Every share and review allows us to reach more people and bring you even more great content. Stay tuned for weekly episodes packed with insights to help you optimize your health, fitness, and mindset. And if you're ready to take things to the next level and join the MC Future Fitness community, click the link in the description, fill in the application, and let's get started. Thanks for tuning in.